yoga. We'll begin today in child's pose. I recommend getting whatever support you need for child's pose. If you have a bolster and you want to use a bolster between your knees like this, you can. If you'd like a little cushion either under your knees or between your calves and your thighs. Under your knees is kind of nice for the ankle, so you don't get as much pointing of the ankle. Between the calves and the thighs is kind of nice for if compression at the back of the knee bothers you ever. If you let your knees go wide, rest your forehead on something, maybe the back of your hands. Let your elbows get heavy. Send your breath into the back of your body. We start in the pose of the child so that we remember where we came from. We remember the infinite possibility within each of us. Our yoga practice is here to tap us into our minds, bodies, spirits. It's here to tap us into the unity of our own selves as well as our unity with all other living beings. And this is a sweet shape to remind us of that. If you need to, I recommend taking in a full breath and letting out a big sigh. It's a great and super simple way to reset your nervous system. And then your next inhale, reach your arms out in front of you and shift forward to table pose. Spread your fingers wide, set your knees right below your hips, and let your elbows and wrists be right under your shoulders. If you want, you can turn your fingers out towards the side just a little bit to give your wrists a bit of relief. And we're going to drop the belly down, pull the heart forward on your inhale, and exhale round up towards the sky. Really, really simple cat and cow. Last round of cat, cow. You can take it into a more organic movement. Maybe go side to side, right ear towards right hip, or left ear towards left hip. Or you can just draw circles in whatever way feels good to you. Moving your hips around. Find center and stretch the right leg back, straight back behind you. Get all 5 toes on the floor, press the heel away, and feel a nice stretch to the back of your calf. Drawing in at your abdomen so there's no sagging, and pressing forward through the crown of the head. Really, really simple. Go ahead and lift the foot up off the floor and over to the left, off the left side of your yoga mat. Get all 5 toes curled under again, and press back, and you'll feel it a bit more on the outside of your hip. Maybe a little bit in the side of your waist. Draw your belly in. And bring it back to center. Left leg stretches out behind you. And again, all 5 toes pointed forward, press back through the heel, nice stretch through the back of the calf. towards the sky. Draw the lower abdomen in, back of the neck long. And we'll take the left foot all the way off the right side of the mat. Bring your left foot back to center so that it looks like you're in plank from the left foot to the crown of the head and through your hands. And you'll simply slide your right knee towards your right wrist and lower your back knee down. This is a great place to place one of your blocks under your right hip. And we're going to fold forward so that you feel a nice opening along the right hip. Block is optional here. We have a nice opening along the right hip. I like to stack my fists, rest the forehead on the back of the fists, curl your left toes under, and simply lift your body. So the place that looks like it's getting the most stretch would be your front hip, the right hip in this example. But if you kind of draw and create a firmness along the belly, and if your glutes tend to be a little more open, straightening the back knee can actually create more intensity on the front of the left hip. Right? So that nice hip opening is what we're going for on the left side. A little more than any kind of intensity on the right. Inhale, rise up, and we switch sides. So move through table pose. Straighten your right leg out, and draw your left knee up. The left knee stays at a pretty sharp angle. Heel in close to your hips. Fold down. Give yourself the support you need under your left hip. I might add a little more here. And then let yourself move into supported pigeon pose here. So your left knee points straight forward, right leg back. You can curl your right toes under, draw in from the low abdomen, and just reach the right knee towards the sky. The blocks out of the way, blocks and blankets. Bring both legs back and slowly fold forward all the way onto your belly. Reach your arms out in front of you. Bring your palms together into a prayer-like shape and bring your legs close in, your toes might touch. You're going to rest for a moment, forehead between the arms, just to rest and move into the full prostration, the full prana asana. Creating this integrity, this length along both the front body and the back body here. Wiggle your feet a little bit apart and your hands a little bit apart. And on your inhale, rise up, sliding your hands back. So it looks like a hybrid between upper body locust and cobra pose. Exhale and out. Inhale and up. And exhale. Try to draw in from your abdomen, even as you go into this little bit of a back bend. And exhale, lengthen. One last time. Inhale, up, back of the neck stays long. Exhale, lengthen, reach, reach, reach. Lift your left leg and right arm. And lower down and lift your left arm and right leg. Really reaching. One of the things I pay attention to is how my pelvis sits on the floor. Does it feel even? Lower down. And we'll pay attention this round to whether it feels even side to side. Asymmetrical poses are teachers in that they teach us if one side is a lot more challenging. You can lower down, lift your other side. Hands back, squeeze your shoulders back, float your hands off the floor, and hug your elbows in, pull your heart forward for cobra. Firm legs, elbows bent, look over one shoulder, and look over the other shoulder. Lengthen as you lower right back down. Give your forehead a place to rest, bend your knees. Simply windshield wipe your legs a little side to side. If you notice as you go to the right that feels particularly therapeutic to yourself, reach your body, you can hang out there. You can hang out in the other direction. And then straighten out your legs. You may need to wiggle a little closer to the right side of your yoga mat. And place your blanket on the right side of your mat, like so. You'll draw your right knee onto your blanket. Something that looks like 90 degrees at your hips, 90 degrees at the knee, and flex at the foot. And this is half Mandukasana, or Ardha Mandukasana, half frog pose. As you lay down, you'll probably feel a deep opening in the inner thigh. So you can just rest here for about 3 to 5 breaths. Allowing the muscles to accommodate to this new shape. As a side note, sometimes in my work as a physical therapist, I'll ask people what position they sleep in. People who sleep in this particular position almost always have one hip much more open than the other, where it feels much more comfortable on one side, so they're always in a habit of sleeping like this on that one side. If you notice that about yourself, you might consciously spend a little time in this position on the opposite side during your waking hours. It's hard to say what comes first, the chicken or the egg, the sleeping position or the hip openness. But from here, we're going to bend the knee up towards your elbow or towards your shoulder and take it away. And bend the knee up towards the elbow or shoulder and take it away. Nice motion, simple motion for the joint. This nice deep joint of our body, the hip. Try to keep your pelvis as low as possible to the floor. So by that I mean, try not to roll onto your left side at all. Just kind of keep the right cheek down. And one more pass all the way up, all the way down. We'll switch sides. Wiggle over to the other side of the yoga mat. Move your blanket over to that side. And we'll start off just parking the knee out to the side. Left knee off the left side of the yoga mat. You can rest your forehead down and look to the left. We'll be here for about 3 breaths. Ardha Mandukasana. Manduka is the frog, half frog shape. Really slowly draw the knee up towards your left elbow and slide it down towards straight, up towards the left elbow, and slide it down towards straight. Keep going back and forth a few times. And the physical layer, the Annamaya Kosha, the food body layer of our beings, the asana practice can teach us a lot about symmetry, right to left. And it can also teach us about challenges, physical challenges that are unique to us. So for example, if back bends come very easily to someone, they may not like forward folds very much. They may really like back bends. And if hip opening is challenging for somebody, this particular pose or this particular action, it may not be something that you enjoy. So I would never encourage people to do things that are painful or unnecessarily difficult. But just going into things that are a little bit challenging for the body can be a powerful medicine, powerful awareness for ourselves, for our Annamaya Kosha, that physical layer. So last pass all the way up, all the way down. And go ahead and wiggle to the middle of your mat again, resting your forehead on the back of your hands. Scoop your belly, this will help to firm your back. Bend your right knee, just lift the foot up towards the sky. So this alone tends to kick in the left hip. It's pretty easy to try and just push the left hip knee into the ground to try and lift your right foot. So instead, don't worry if it goes high at all, but try to relax the left side. Maybe even curl your left toes under so your knee doesn't touch the floor at all. See how high you go with the right. You'll probably feel it along your feet. And then slowly take it across your body, and you can either just hang out here and stretch. This is the spider stretch, the tarantula stretch. Or maybe it will come down to the floor. And slowly take it back to center. Rest your forehead again. Bend your left knee. Option to float your right knee up off the floor. Lift the left knee and take it across the body. Maybe float the foot. Maybe tap the foot. We're engaging the left glute, and we start by engaging the left glute right here when we're face down, so that it's not all coming from the back. Some of it comes from the hip. Slowly release back to center. Root your hands. Rise up to table pose. This is a great place to use your blanket under your knees. So particularly if your yoga mat doesn't have a lot of cushion, set your blanket up under your knees. Curl your fingers into the floor. And we're going to stretch the left leg out, just like we did earlier. Pull the toes onto the floor. And lift the foot up to about hip height. Bend your knee. And do the same exact thing here we did a moment ago. But there's a little bit of a trick. When you don't have the floor under your abdomen, you've got to scoop your belly anytime. So lift your foot up towards the sky. And we're just going to stamp the ceiling from the hip. It's a pretty small movement, and it takes a lot of muscular effort. If you feel it getting big, it's probably happening from your back. So you can't see with my floating shirt here, but the belly is really engaged, and I'm really trying not to move my back. I'm really trying to move the leg. Draw the knee straight out to the side. I call this fire hydrant asana. Draw a nice little circle here, one direction, and then a slow Toe circle the other direction. Please lower down with the knees. Take the knees wide, toes touching, and rest back to child's pose for a moment. Reconnecting with the energy of breath into the back body. Inhale, shift forward, back to table. You'll curl your right toes under behind you. Immediately draw the belly in. Lift the leg, bend the knee. So you're spreading your toes, stack, kind of engaging through the glutes as you do these little pumps towards the sky, pulses. There's a Greek Sanskrit word for pulse, which is spanda. Spanda would indicate, among other things, the pulse of the universe that lives inside of us, in our heartbeat, in our respiratory rate. And I like that word in particular because it sounds like spandex. So it's pretty easy to remember. Draw your knee out to the side for 500 asana, and just give me one slow circle in one direction. And one slow circle in the other direction. Settling your knees, curling your toes, rising up, downward facing dog, and it's totally cool if it's a short down dog. Just press your knees back, press the hips back, create a ton of length. We're going to step the right foot forward, so if you want to, you can come down onto your knees and first set up your blocks in front and leave the tall position. And we're going to set the right foot up between the hands or between the blocks, and then rise up. Bring your front knee back, your front foot back a little closer to your body than you might normally. And we're going to play with bringing the front foot, the toe, the heel, the back knee, and the back foot all in one line. And you can use the edge of your yoga mat to help you determine if you're in one line. And if you're feeling a little bit challenged by balance, that's the point of this. So as you bring the legs in one line, you should get a little bit of wobble. Try drawing your front hip points up, leaning back just a little bit, maybe even coming onto your big toes in front, or your tiptoes. Maybe reaching the arms up overhead. So if this one challenges you, so long as you're not in pain, this would be the kind of thing that you could incorporate. You feel lots and lots of shaking. You could incorporate into this daily routine, even if it's not fun, right? Go ahead and lower your hands to the knee. Set your foot forward again, and scoop your belly like you're in cat pose. Drop the hips. Scoop the belly like you're in cat pose. Exhale. Bring your left hand to the left hip and press it forward. And scoop in and press and scoop in. And I'm really leading with the front of the hip as opposed to my belly button. So as you lean in, front of the hip, front of the hip, front of the hip, zip up through the center of your body and sweep the arms out and up. Gorgeous sun arms for Anjaneyasana. Pressing your palms together overhead. Reach the heart up. Beautiful. Deep full breath. Exhale, please bring your hands either to your front knee or to your blocks and pivot on your back knee. I call this the proposal position. You'll bend in and out, and bend in and out. For this one, you're at a bit of a diagonal towards the front left corner of your mat. You can have your hand on your knee. And the idea is that your whole front thigh tracks over your middle toe. one's so simple and really, really nice. Lean in quite substantially and bring your elbow to your knee. And if this pose reminds you of anything, it should be side angle pose that you might do in a faster paced vinyasa class or a more active practice. Draw your low ribs back, tailbone down. And what you'll find here is that you can actually get more depth, even though it's not as dramatic of a pose. You can almost find more depth in the hip opening. Option to put your hand down on the block. Left arm by the ear. I recommend block to the outside of the front foot so that you're working the outer muscles of the hip to stay stable. Pushing the knee into the arm. We'll rise up. Both hands to the front knee or hands to the blocks. Step back to the table pose. Or, if you'd like, you can use your hands on the floor, hands on the block to take a moment in down dog. One of the things you might notice about my down dog is that I've lifted my toes. I've automatically lifted my toes off the floor in down dog. And for most of us, we may or may not get our toes off the floor, but the energy of lifting the toes off the floor is going to help your heels get down. The energy of pushing your quads back is going to help your hamstrings to open. And we'll lower down, knees to the ground. I'm going to switch sides so everybody can see. And place up your left foot in front, in between your blocks or in between your hands. And we'll just start by exhaling into cat. Inhaling, dropping the pelvis. Exhaling into a little bit of a cat shape. Inhale, pelvis. Exhale, you can take your hands to your front knee if you'd like. So of course the idea is that we're going to go forward with the hip as opposed to the belly button. So you're going to bring your hands maybe to the right hip and just press it forward. Pull your ribs back. Low ribs back. Back of the neck long. Ears perk up. Inhale. Find your way to Anjaneyasana. So if I could draw little arrows around this pose, it would be like arrow in for the belly, for the low ribs. Arrow forward for the hips. And the biggest arrow would be up. Just this length, a sense of creating length and space in our spine. Back to center. And we're gonna wiggle our front foot all the way in front. We're doing it in a different order than on the other side, but hope you guys will forgive me. We're gonna bring our front foot, knee, and back foot all in one line. You can use the edge of your yoga mat to help you find that nice line. And then find the little sense of instability here, right? So ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over standing knee. Make it a bit more challenging by really, really finding that quality of line and or coming onto the tiptoes of your front foot. Slowly lower down. Wiggle your foot back over to the left. And we'll switch to the proposal position. So again, your standing knee, you just pivot on it, you open up the hips, you're facing more towards the front right corner of the mat. And you just lean. When you feel like you've got some good motion is lotion and the joints are open, you can lean in maybe bring your elbow to the knee. Your elbow is doing more than simply resting. It's pressing back a little bit to open the inner thigh. Or you bring your hand to the block or to the floor, to the outside of your front knee, and just simply push the knee into the arm. So by doing that, it activates the muscles of the outer part of the hip. Option to take your top arm, your right arm, down by your ear. Ribs back, spiral yourself up towards the sky. Open your front knee like a book. And then lower down. Let's take it back, downward facing dog. Pedal it out a little left and right. And then please lower to your knees. If you still have your blanket there, you can use your blanket under your knees. And just simply rise up. Interlace your fingers behind your back and bend your elbows. You can rest your knuckles on your sacrum for a moment. Bend your elbows and squeeze the shoulder blades together. Pull your chin back, float the chest up. Keep the heart lifted, back of the neck long. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Press your pelvis forward. Heart lifted, back of the neck long. And when you're ready, glide your knuckles down and keep reaching. Heart lifted. Really, really simple camel pose. Hands back to the hips. Keep squeezing, keep lifting the chest. This time focus on pressing your pelvis forward actively, which is a great way to open the front of the hips. And then rise up. Curl your toes under. And if reasonable, come back into a deep squat. You have really good options here for keeping your body happy. One of them is sitting on the block or the multiple blocks. And another, if you need it, putting your heels up on your blanket or the rolled up back edge of your yoga mat. And we're simply gonna lean forward, walk your hands out, let the head hang heavy. Shake it a little left and right. Nod it up and down. And as you're ready, roll forward. Blanket can be out of your way, blocks can be out of your way. Coming all the way onto your belly and your forearms. The pose we just did before Malasana was Ustrasana, camel pose. Now we're going to get that same energy of camel pose. Press your pelvis down into the floor and bend your knees. Pull your heart forward a little bit, so you won't see a whole lot, but I really am digging my elbows back, trying to pull back with my elbows to traction my spine, pull the heart forward. You can maybe let your feet go a little side to side here. Notice how it feels in your abdomen. And then keep your feet still. Look out over your right shoulder and really get a nice twist in your upper back. Look out over your left shoulder, a nice twist in your upper back. Back to center and slowly. Let's bring our whole practice full circle. So using your breath, inhale and lift up. Press up to table. Blanket is helpful here, but you'll be okay if you don't use it as well. You might want to turn sideways on your yoga mat. Just wiggle your knees off towards full Manduka pose, full Mandukasana. So soles of the feet face towards the back. Your shins are parallel to one another. You might have to open up the blanket a lot more than the stored position, as some of you guys are finding out. Yeah, I opened mine one more time and then I folded it the long ways. And you can just simply press a little bit back and forth, a little bit back and forth. One more pass. To come out, bring your feet in. Press on one hand and the other hand. Draw your knees in. And bring your hips to the middle of your yoga mat. You can use your blanket as a nice cushion under your knees. Or, if you notice how mine is a little bit longer, like I opened it up and I rolled it up, you can also create a little cushion around your ankles. An option to use your blocks under your knees. The blocks can be flat like this, or you can try to wedge them in. The wedging is a little more comfortable like that. Set your hands in your belly. Shavasana. So we've done back bending and some gentle forward folding. Twisting of the upper back and the lower back / hips. Opening of the hips to the side and to the back, and a bit of balance, stability, and gentle core work. As this yoga practice comes to a close, just consider all of the variety of movements that you showed up. Challenge yourself with on the mat. Allow your mind to settle like sand in a sand timer. The muscles drape on the bones. Imagine your skin like a heavy blanket. Notice your mind wandering or getting distracted by sounds, noises, movements. Simply return to the rhythm of your breath, the inhale, the exhale. Remember the slack in your jaw.
between the eyebrows.